Great. So thanks again, everyone, for being here this morning. Again, I'm Becky Riley. I'm a market development manager for Bryant Christie based in Sacramento, California, and looking forward to talking with you all about Vietnam. Thanks also again to Thomas for joining us today as well. Looking forward to hearing more from you in a little while here. So let's get into it. Today, we are going to be learning about Vietnam's consumers, some current economic developments, and other trends relating to the market for food products in the country. We will be covering Vietnam's consumer demographics, economic trends, food culture and dietary trends, and tying this all back to opportunities for U.S. food exporters. So starting off with consumer demographics, we are going to look at some shifting trends, including how rising incomes and evolving lifestyles are reshaping consumer behavior. First of all, Vietnam's population has been growing steadily over the last several decades, especially between 1980 and 2000. Expansion rates have slowed down a bit since then, but growth is still projected to continue steadily over at least the next 5 years. Currently, Vietnam has a population of over 101 million, and that's expected to reach nearly 105 million by 2029, which is almost double the population of the country in 1980. Reflecting that growing population, the largest demographics in terms of age are currently below 39 years old, indicating a relatively young population. There is a higher ratio of males in those younger demographics, but this declines in the older age groups, reflecting longer female life expectancy. The overall slowing population growth rate and gradual reduction in younger population numbers, however, suggest a declining birth rate and potentially an increasing ratio of those elderly age groups in the years to come, which is in contrast to the current distribution that shows a significant population decline among those of older age groups, especially beyond 60 years. In terms of geographic distribution, Vietnam has one of the highest population densities globally, with much of the population clustered in urban areas. Vietnam's two largest cities by far are Ho Chi Minh City, which is in southern Vietnam's Mekong River Delta region, and Hanoi, which is the country's capital city located in the northern Red River Valley. The Gulf of Tonkin and coastal areas along the South China Sea also have high population densities, including cities such as Haiphong and Da Nang. This aligns with general urbanization trends that we're seeing in the country, which are centered in coastal cities and river valleys, while rural and mountainous regions tend to have lower population densities. So it makes sense that most of the country's infrastructure and economic development has been concentrated in those high density regions. The Mekong River Delta region, including Ho Chi Minh City, is currently the country's agricultural and economic hub. Alongside urbanization, Vietnam has also seen strong economic development in recent decades. Unemployment rates have dropped significantly since the early 1990s, and the country has become a leader in terms of GDP growth within Southeast Asia, even seeing continued progress during the pandemic years while other economies in the region were struggling. Altogether, this is supporting a rapid expansion of Vietnam's middle class, which is projected to account for more than a quarter of the population by 2026, doubling in size in just 3 years since 2023. GDP per capita has skyrocketed since 1990, up from $122 to a projected $6,425 by 2029. This massive growth has continued alongside consistently low unemployment rates, supporting income stability, upward mobility, and increasing disposable incomes among Vietnam's growing middle class of consumers. These economic shifts and rapid urbanization trends have had a major impact on lifestyles in Vietnam, and we see this reflected especially in the rise of convenience foods. Consumers commuting and working in cities are spending less time at home and increasingly seeking on-the-go foods instead of cooking meals themselves. There are also a growing number of dual income families and consumers living alone, which further contribute to this shift towards convenience in food choices. As a result, ready-to-eat, frozen, and prepackaged meals are trending. In the retail marketplace, this is supporting growth in food delivery apps, mini marts and convenience stores, and grab-and-go options that align with those ever busier lifestyles. So how are these trends reflected in different consumer segments in Vietnam? Vietnam's generally young population that we just discussed represents a large millennial and Gen Z cohort. And with rapid urbanization, especially in those major cities such as Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, the urban youth population has an increasingly strong influence on the market. This demographic is interested in trendy, globalized brands with local relevance, but they're also socially conscious and interested in brands and products that align with their values. They spend a lot of time on their phones and primarily engage with brands through social media and other apps. Altogether, this demographic tends to be eager to participate in a consumer economy, and with increasing disposable income rates, they're ever more willing to spend money on trendy products. So what do we mean when we say trendy products? In Vietnam, trend cycles are fast, and they are heavily influenced by social media and other online communities. TikTok is a major driver of trends in Vietnam, especially among Gen Z consumers, but other online communities, including Facebook groups, also play an important role. On social media, consumers actively follow influencers and micro content creators to discover new trending products, especially favoring those with aesthetic packaging, trending hashtags, and local cultural relevance. Products that go viral online are rapidly adopted as these younger trend-fueled consumers don't want to miss out. For brands, this means that an agile digital presence in Vietnam is absolutely necessary to keep up with these rapid trend cycles and remain relevant for consumers. Alongside online product discovery, many consumers in Vietnam are increasingly shopping online as well. Since the pandemic, the country has had a booming e-commerce market, which has showed no signs of slowing down. Within this digital marketplace, consumers expect to see things like flash sales, free shipping, and fast delivery. Consumer purchases are heavily impacted by online reviews and peer feedback. In-app promotions and live stream shopping events, which are similar to what you'd see on a home shopping network channel, just in a mobile app instead, are also popular and highly effective at driving sales. The main e-commerce platforms that currently dominate the market in Vietnam include Shopee, Tiki, and Lazada. And mobile payments and digital wallets such as Momo and Zalo Pay also have high adoption rates, similarly to how we have Apple Pay and Google Wallet here in the US. While Vietnam's growing middle class of consumers is increasingly interested and able to spend money on trendy products, they are also still driven by value. Historically, spending habits have been family-oriented, but with the country's economic shifts and expanding middle class with growing disposable incomes, there's been a rise in individualized decision-making. So consumers are both price sensitive and aspirational in their spending habits, seeking a balance between value and being on trend. Because of this, Vietnamese consumers have a general preference for brands that offer quality at a fair price. And local brands compete well by offering value-packed alternatives to international products. Trust in specific brands is developed through both community reputation and word of mouth, including on social media and other apps, as we discussed. In terms of food, value is especially found within healthier food options and functional products that boast specific nutrition and health benefits. So with that, let's shift over and take a more in-depth look into Vietnam's food culture and consumption trends. We're going to talk about the evolving food landscape, which is shaped by tradition, health trends, and the rise of modern retail. The traditional Vietnamese diet has a heavy focus on vegetables, rice, and fresh herbs such as mint, cilantro, and basil. Dietary protein is primarily derived from fish and other seafood, as well as pork, tofu, and legumes, while red meat and dairy products are traditionally much less prevalent. Fermented foods, including fish sauce and pickled vegetables, are also common, and soups like pho, featuring clear broths that emphasize natural flavors, are signature dishes within Vietnamese cuisine. That said, Vietnam has begun to embrace international food trends in recent years. Imported food products are increasingly available in supermarkets, and international restaurant chains have spread throughout the country. Fusion dishes are also trending, using a mix of global ingredients in local dishes or local ingredients in global dishes. As mentioned earlier, shifting lifestyle trends have driven stronger interest in convenience, leading to increased consumption of fast foods and processed packaged foods on the go. At the same time, consumers are also increasingly aware of the impact that their food choices have on overall health and seeking clean label and plant-based options to lower the risk of health conditions such as obesity and diabetes. Meanwhile, global media has a significant impact on food consumption in Vietnam as well. Viral food trends are influenced heavily by social media, YouTube, and even things like Korean K-pop culture, especially among younger urban consumers who are more open to embracing a Western diet. Altogether, these trends are leading to growing demand for imported foods. So as a result, the market for imported food products in Vietnam is large and growing. Fresh fruit and nuts are a top category, and Vietnam imported $1.9 billion worth of tree nuts and $1.72 billion in fresh fruit in 2023. Meat and meat product imports are also a large market, valued at $1.43 billion and supplied primarily by India, Australia, and the US. Meanwhile, Vietnam relies heavily on imports for its dairy consumption, given that domestic production only meets 30% of demand, leading to a total imported market size of $1.18 billion. Finally, processed and packaged foods, including snack foods, processed dairy products, and non-alcoholic drinks, are a major imported market segment as well, valued at $13.45 billion in 2023. As mentioned earlier, Vietnamese consumers are increasingly health conscious, and this is impacting food choices. Higher earning consumers, especially, are shifting back towards healthier, home cooked meals with fresh local ingredients instead of relying on fast food, balancing those convenience and health factors. Similarly, product safety and quality are top concerns, and consumers are increasingly seeking products with clear labeling and transparent and safe sourcing, in addition to preferred nutrition benefits. Sustainability is also trending as environmental awareness rises, with eco-friendly, organic, and sustainably packaged products gaining popularity. In total, this creates opportunities for brands that align with growing demand for healthy, nutritious, and sustainable products to tap into a quickly growing market, particularly in the wellness and organic sectors. Earlier, we talked about digital first shoppers, so let's take a deeper look into how e-commerce is impacting food choices specifically. As we discussed, Vietnam's e-commerce marketplace is booming. Like many other countries, this sector really took off as a result of the pandemic, but its development has not slowed down. The market reached a value of $13.7 billion in 2021, with continued 30% annual growth expected through 2025. Vietnam is a highly online country, and 71% of consumers in the market are smartphone users. So opportunities to reach shoppers through online food retail are strong. In the interest of convenience and value, consumers are increasingly shopping for food products online and using cashless payment systems. These e-commerce platforms offer food retailers opportunities to expand their reach across Vietnam and quickly adapt to evolving consumer preferences. Importantly, Vietnamese shoppers know and favor US products, especially those that can be purchased through trusted platforms such as Amazon and Rakuten. All right, so now I'd like to turn it over to Thomas to share his perspective on market opportunities for US exporters in Vietnam. I'll stop sharing my screen here, Thomas, so you can take over.
Okay, hi everyone. Let me try and see how to do this. Okay, share, choose screen. Okay. All right. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. It's very strange. I can see the screen, but I cannot see your face. So, I'm going to call at this time Dean, Jamie, and Nico. I see you in the audience. Thanks for coming in tonight. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Thomas Wee. I'm the rep for USATA. I'm based in Singapore. I cover ASEAN. So Vietnam is a very nice place. If you've not been there, please do go there. So I just want to go very quick. I only have 4 slides, and thank you very much, Becky, for showing all the things earlier on. It's very comprehensive. So I'm just going to go through quickly and go to maybe the points that I think are more important to you as a shipper, as an exporter. So I think the first thing is that the top products, the popular products in Vietnam. So I think this one is something that Becky has actually shared earlier on. So 2023, this is what are the top products, and now for 2024, very similar. So you have things like the additional stuff are things like non-alcoholic beverages, chocolates, cocoa product. But really what Vietnamese are looking at is that they're looking for fresh food. So a lot of things like your fresh, I would say almost lightly processed or unprocessed products are very attractive to them. So things like, for example, natural products like dairy they are very attractive to them. Meat, tree nuts is very, very big. So nut for snacking, for processing, for putting into their food is a very big part of their diet. So almonds, walnuts, pistachios, these are huge. Fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, these are huge as well, especially fresh fruits. So one of very large source for them is things like, for Vietnam, is things like apples, oranges, I think blueberries. Blueberries, I think the US has access for blueberries, market access for blueberry into Vietnam. The other one is table grapes. These are very big as well in terms of strawberries, cherries, huge. So these are some of the things that are very attractive and a very important product that they buy. They buy from the US. The other products that they buy is they're coming up is things like wine. So US is a very exciting location for them to source for wine, source for things like coffee. And surprisingly, the fact that Vietnam is one of the largest coffee producer in the world, right? At the same time, they're still looking for coffees from all over the world. Interesting, high-end imported coffees. And the other thing, of course, snack food. So there is a growing group of consumers that look for imported snack food. So Vietnam itself produces a lot of snack food. So they also get a lot of snack food from surrounding countries like Thailand as well. But at the same time, they're still looking for branded snack food coming in from the US, and especially foreign snack food. So I want to go to the next slide with distribution channels. So how do you get your products, and how does the product go into the market? So primarily, I'm going to cover a lot more on the retail channel. So your product, as the shipper, you are exporting your products to Vietnam. So very frequently it goes to the importer distributor. And I'll cover a little bit more about why you do it that way. And the importer
Hey,
distributor will
Thomas,
send it. Hey,
I'm
yes,
sorry to interrupt you. We're still seeing
no
your
problem.
first slide here.
Oh, is it? Let me see. Okay, let me see. Okay, it's a very attractive second slide. Can you see it now?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, but then you lose out on the nice animation that I have. Let me try it one more time. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we're still seeing the second slide.
Okay, never mind then. It's okay. Let me see. In that case, we will do what we have. Let me
Now we've
see.
lost, it looks like we've lost the slides entirely now. I think your screen
Okay,
share stopped.
1 second. Thank you so much for sharing that, Becky.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there.
No. It's good. It's better to do it now than later at the end of the whole thing. They realize that nobody's seen anything. Wait, I think I'm sharing the wrong one. Okay. Okay. Are you seeing it now? Can you see
Yep,
this?
there we go.
Yes, we can
Okay,
see it.
so no problem. Distribution channels. So I will just go from. So you go from the shipper. It goes to the distributors. A lot of time it goes to retailer importers. So these are like your Winmart over here itself. Winmart, your Mega Mart, your Big C, your Anna Market. These are the ones that are what you call the modern retailers. And then you go to the next one is actually your traditional retailers here. So these are the people like something like this, traditional retailers where they'll probably go through buying it from wholesaler as well. This is about the no AC, mom and pop shops kind of thing. So as the distribution channels, right, the modern retailers are about 20-25% of the whole market. Traditional retailers, right, is roughly about the other rest itself 70%. So increasingly what you see is that there's actually a new channel, which is the e-commerce channel. So the e-commerce channel here itself, right? So you have e-commerce channel like as what Becky said earlier on your Tiki, Lazada, Shopee. These are Shopee and Lazada are regionals. TikTok is just part of the shops there. Some of those like Tiki, right? These are all the local shops. But there's also many of the retailers, right? They have their own e-commerce capability. But interestingly, one more thing is that a lot of the importer distributors themselves also operate the e-commerce store, either as on Shopee or Lazada, which are actually more like a platform, a bit like what you have in Amazon Marketplace. So they actually sell their products on it. So there are many ways of getting your products through it. Today, e-commerce is about 6%. It's very small. So what is it in for you? So I always want to cover 4 points. One is that I'll cover things like modern versus retail, traditional and e-commerce. Really, for US products, we are more into the modern channel. Maybe in the e-commerce, but because it's so small, right, it doesn't really matter much to us. So modern is where you want to go to. These are the one with nice supermarket, modern supermarket. A lot of them, like for Big C, were French in kind of origin itself. So the other thing for you to want to think about is that when you go to market, right, do you want speed or do you want spread? What do I mean is that if you want your product to go into the market quick, right, these retailers, right, are your go-to. They're able to, some of them can import, like Big C, they import product in. So Big C in Vietnam is actually owned by Central Retail over in Thailand. So they can bring a product into the market very quickly, but they will want it to be exclusive. So you cannot sell a product elsewhere. Whereas if you use an imported distributor, right, they can give you a spread. They can bring a product to more channels, including even what we call a specialty store. They're traditional retailers, a bit of a hybrid between traditional retailers and retailers, modern retailers. They are nicer shops, more specialized. So they can be very specialized in foreign products, imported products. One of the very large chain is the Anna Market. So they're very high end. They are really, they have a cafe attached to it, looking for really good products. The other thing is that where does your product stand? Is it a niche product or is it a mass product? If you're a mass product, right, unless your pricing is really, really good, because Vietnam is very price sensitive, it's still a relatively poor country. So unless it's very good pricing, and when I say pricing, right, think China, think Australia, think Europe, where they have no tax coming in, they have no tariffs coming in. But of course, it may change, with the tariff thing going on now. For us, for US product, really niche, really more of I would say high-end premium. So you think about it, if only 20% of people will buy a product, right, then you'll do well. You'll do well in Vietnam, where only 20% can afford your product, so to speak. So how does this distribution channel change if it's a food service processor? A lot of time, it doesn't really change much. You still very much go through importer, distributor. And one of the reasons for this is because of language as well. A lot of time, right, there's two reasons. One is language in terms of dealing with a foreign ingredients provider. The other one is also allowing them, a lot of the processors, a lot of the food service operators, right, to focus on their core strength, which is market, the local market, local processor, local operations. A lot of times the sourcing, they leave it to a specialized importer distributor that could be related to your company, could be a friend, could be somebody. So a lot of time you going through them, right, gives you better success than going directly. I'll go to the next slide. So one other thing I want to cover was import regulation, labeling requirements. The labor requirements is the same. So your product, when it comes, just follow the same process that you have in the US, right? You'll work over in Vietnam. Only thing is this thing, it needs to have Vietnamese translation. So if you look at this, right, a slap-on sticker, right, works. So long as how should I say, is firm, it doesn't fall off. So you stick onto it, that will work too. This, by the way, is Arizona iced tea. So it needs to have a Vietnamese translation. If you have health claims, right, like it's healthy, it has good in fiber, it is organic, you must be substantiated. They may check you, they may ask you for it. You have to show substance, you have to show evidence of it. If you say it's a good source of fiber, things like that, right, same rules apply. The Vietnamese standards are very similar to the US standards. I won't, maybe not, maybe if you are familiar, I think like maybe UK or Singapore standards kind of thing, which means that, for example, if you say it's a good source, it has to have like 10% of the daily requirements. If you say it's actually a healthy, right, it has to have a certain amount of the item itself inside there. So the other thing is the manufacture date, used by date has to be clearly stated. So now, a lot of time you go to the modern retailer, 20%, they require like, I think at least a 6 months shelf life or 9 months shelf life when it reaches their store. The rest of the market doesn't really matter that much. I have been to stores where things have gone by their sell-by date and use by date, and it's still being sold. So it's normal. I mean, you can't really destroy everything you want to destroy there. So it's just something you need to work with and live with. Last slide. Key challenges and how to overcome them. So on the left side is challenges, on the right side is the solution. I think it will work for you. So one thing is languages. So in Vietnam, you probably meet most of the importer, distributor, the one that I shared earlier on, right, that sliver, they have good command of the language. It may not be the best English, but they are able to communicate with you, they're able to understand, and more importantly, a lot of them have experience importing products. So that's very important because you don't want to be lost in translation. Is a very real thing when you're dealing with foreign buyers. So, and in Vietnam, especially so, because things move fast there. So, and if they misunderstand you, make mistake or whatever thing, right, a lot of time they would not trust and you may lose the trust, and that is very important. So that's one. So the other one is regulations. So in Vietnam, there's a lot of regulations, but at the same time, right, there is a lot of it's very corrupted. So there's a lot of corruption going on. So things like, your importer distributor will be able to help you to navigate that part too. So a lot of time, things like your labels do not fit, or they'll find fault your labels. It's nothing more than just asking for a payoff. So you may not be comfortable dealing with it, or you may not want to deal with it, or you may not know who to deal with as well. So an importer, right, an experienced importer can navigate all those things for you. To you, it's just a cost of business. You don't have to see it, it just happens, so your product goes to the market. So the other thing is that if you're doing you're doing stuff that's frozen or chill, cold chain. Cold chain is an issue within Vietnam. So the main thing is that Vietnam is a large country. It's a lot of distribution, it's huge. I mean, even though it's urbanized, right, a large part of the population still lives in the province and all this thing. So I would say that for US products, stay urban, stay with the large chains. If you're urban, you are in Haiphong, you are in Da Nang, you are in Ho Chi Minh, and you are Hanoi, right? You are fine. Good power source, everything. The large chain, they have all the facilities to handle your products. So your products still arrive to your customer in good quality. Now, expectation over quantity and quality. So a lot of time, they may not have the kind of volume of, say, China, so to speak, especially for US products. And especially now where things are currency, exchange rate, freight cost is so fluctuating all the time. They may want very high, small quantity to start with, but they may at the same time want very high quality. So I would say, go allow a small purchase, high value, still retain your value. You'd be surprised. In Vietnam, right? Just take example like fresh fruits. In Vietnam, they are in the whole Southeast Asia, ASEAN, right? I think Vietnam has probably the highest value in terms of for fresh fruits, in terms of the import. They can pay for very high quality fruits. So the largest apples I've seen, right, largest citrus fruits or things like this, right, are all in Vietnam. You see a lot of that. The highest quality fruits and the largest number of the range as well, the variety is in Vietnam. And one reason is because over there, a lot of gifting. A lot of people are giving gifts to each other. And if it's imported, right, they want the best possible. So one of the things you see that's common in Vietnam, in fact, in many of the Southeast Asian countries, right, is that they have specialized fruit shops that just sell fruits, specialized wine shops that just sell wine. A little bit of other places have that, but over there you see a lot more of that. Certain products, specialization. So over there itself, right, people going there to buy very high-end product and they're willing to pay for it. So last is competition. So we have competition. So when I say competition, is the competition from within Vietnam. A lot of production is done there, a lot of processing, a lot of things. You name it, they can produce it there. So that's one. A lot of product come from Europe as well, France. So don't forget, the whole Indochina used to be a French colony. So a lot of products, a lot of links there. A lot of people speak French. They can buy the product directly from France or this. So they expect the kind of quality. The pricing is lower than the US, and they have a free trade as well. And also Australia, they buy a lot of products from there. Of course, last but not least, they share a border with China. So a lot of products come in from China. So pricing, everything as well. So where do we stand? US has a big disadvantage. We have no FTA. In fact, Vietnam is one of the only two countries in ASEAN that has a free trade agreement with Europe, the other one being Singapore. So where do we stand? So we don't have FTA, we are far away, our currency is higher. Bank on quality, reputation, and safety. These are some of the things that I've seen throughout the time here, right, in many markets. It can stand the test of time. So a lot of time, Vietnamese still look towards US products for a simple fact that they aspire. US still has, US is a very good image in the Vietnamese mindset. So to them, right, European product versus American product. American product is more fun. It's younger. It's Hollywood. It's more exciting. And the other thing I always emphasize is that the product that you are getting for the buyers, right, is exactly the same product that is from the US. Do not be surprised if you offer them a Vietnamese branded product, right? They may not want it. They want a foreign-looking product. It looks foreign, full English in ounce and things like that. And they rather slap a sticker onto it and do the translation there. To them, they want to get the exact same thing that's been sold in the US markets. So they want the same thing as well. So I think these are stuff that you can emphasize on, right? That despite the challenges of competition, Chinese, Europeans, Australian, you will still be able to have a good space for your product. So that's it. That's all I have. If any questions, and I'll hand it over to Becky or Nelda. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, Thomas. All right, let me get my slides back up. All righty. So just a couple more slides here on my end. I wanted to take a quick look at the current tariff environment as it impacts trade between the US and Vietnam. Obviously, as you are all probably well aware, the situation has been rapidly shifting as of late and is very much still evolving. But as things currently stand, the bottom line is that there is a 10% tariff currently in place on all Vietnamese imports into the US, with the higher 46% tariff rate that the Trump administration initially proposed on pause for 90 days. Whether that 46% tariff will actually go into effect remains to be seen. But meanwhile, reportedly, discussions are also taking place between the US and Vietnam regarding reciprocal tariffs. But similarly, the specifics of those are also currently unknown. So, in short, the current 10% tariff on Vietnamese imports into the US is what we know for sure at this time. And the reciprocal tariffs that would impact US imports into Vietnam are something to continue keeping an eye out for. And before we open it up to questions, we wanted to flag a few upcoming WUSADA events to keep an eye out for. Those include a consumer-oriented trade mission to Vietnam and the Philippines that's currently being planned, an ingredient research opportunity with a Southeast Asia focus that'll be coming up, the 2025 TIFEX trade show in Bangkok in May that will provide opportunities to connect with Southeast Asian trade, including representatives from Vietnam, and another outbound trade mission in September with a Southeast Asia focus going to Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand. So if any of these are interest, feel free to get in touch with the folks at WUSADA if you'd like more information. All right, any questions?
So I'm particularly interested in the wine business, and can you give us a status of how it is if you're a producer of a relatively new brand but with good value, whether there's a chance in that market or they will go for the brands no matter what? Will a new brand have a chance?
I can take that.
Go ahead, Thomas. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Andrea, what kind of product is it? Is it like what kind of products are you talking
Well,
about?
I do basically wine with organic grapes. At some point, I hope to be organic wine, or at least have the CCOF.
Yeah, you have a chance. Yeah,
I can have the CCSW on my wine and CCOF as well.
Yeah, you can. It's possible. I mean, wine is a growing part, so I hope it's costly. It's high price kind of thing. So you either go very high or go very low. And for wine, right, you have to go high. So and it's very interesting because if you're looking for wine, so the Wine Institute has outposts there as well. So there's a program going on over in California Wine Institute over in Vietnam. So if you do wine right, the thing is that a lot of the wine are coming in from Europe. Those be a lot. So if they want inexpensive wine, they get it from South America and also for Australia. So if you're coming from US, right, it has to be interesting, something fun, something that's I don't know, organic, biodynamic or something. Those kind of stuff will work well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And what price points are we talking about?
Price point, it depends. So there's tax and everything going in there. So you're talking about anything like $80, $70, $80 kind of thing retail. Yeah, it will work. So the price is high. In Southeast Asia, wine is costly.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Sorry, just one thing. I just want to bring up the mission for the mega mission, right? I'm trying to tell WUSADA about it, but It's actually in November and not in September. So I'm running it. So I just want to say that. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Ingrid. Okay. What
Thank
other
you.
questions here? You're welcome.
Thanks, Thomas. I see a hand raised. Dean?
Hi, good morning. This is a question for Thomas.
I
Thomas,
did.
nice to see you again. I'm doing much better since the last time I saw you.
Okay.
Our company gets a number of inquiries here and there from, through our website from distributors, importers in Vietnam. Would you be a source, or is there a source to help us vet the different importers in Vietnam? For example, I think this was through the Prune Board Association. They recently had an event in Vietnam to promote California prune products, and from that we received a number of inquiries from companies that are interested in our product. I think these inquiries were sent to all the companies in our industry, but I don't know where to begin. To determine, many of these companies don't have websites. And they all claim to be the largest and best, importer in Vietnam. Is there a good source for vetting importers?
I mean, offhand, right? I mean, maybe Nelda can bring it back, but I think offhand, based on the product list, I know that Wusata has, right? We don't have this service at this product at this point in time. If I think you can make a request, and they may engage us to do a custom search for you. I think basically what you want to do is to see, are they a bona fide importer? Are they what they say they are? What's the history? How long they've been around? What's their reputation to some extent, so that you can draw some conclusion and have some assurance in terms of dealing with them as well, or rather, any big flag. So we had one recently. I think it was from Hawaii. I think so. I think someone shipped some tea products there for something itself with a marketing company, and it turned out it wasn't all that it's panned out to be. So it does happen. So at this point, I would say to proceed with caution. This emerging market. So, which is why having a reputation, having a firm with reputation, right, would be yeah, you need to find out. You need to spend a bit of time. Just proceed with caution.
Another question is, I've been in contact with the FAS offices around the world, and they're very helpful to help U.S. companies find a good source. So if I'm looking for a supplier in Vietnam, I would contact the FAS office, and then they could recommend some associations or some companies. But is there one for there doesn't seem to be one for U.S. companies that are looking for importers? There's not, the opposite of what the FAS does.
You can actually, sorry, now that you mentioned, right, the FAS can help you as well. I need to some limited extent. They cannot vouch for the company, but they can at least inform you whether they've heard of the company or not. Are they a company that's already active, importing products? So you can. So FAS has two offices in Vietnam, one in Ho Chi Minh and one over in Hanoi. So the main office is in Hanoi, and they have a large office in Ho Chi Minh with staffed by very competent people as well. So if you need, to let Wusata know, Dean, you know me, so you can just reach out to me. I can link you to them. So good people there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your help.
I wanted to volunteer.
Thomas, we've got
sorry.
2 more questions in the chat. Okay. One of them was, can you speak on the trends of alcohol in Vietnam, specifically the natural or sustainable made wine?
Okay, so just on this itself, right, I cannot really speak about natural or sustainably made wine, but just on alcohol, right, and wine in on a general basis. So Vietnamese loves to drink, so it is a very big thing. If you go there, so they have a lot of beer, wine, spirit, hard liquor, cognac. These are huge there, and they have a lot of F&B outlets, a lot of night sport, a lot of food service operations too. So on top of that, a lot of tourists coming in. So yes, so in terms as a general market itself is people are drinking, and as Becky has shared earlier on, there's a large growing young population as well, and many people travel overseas, so they are open to Western, just having a good time drinking. So yes, wine recently has become more active. A lot of companies are looking to import wines, so there are more new wine companies as well. So there are more people who are trained to be soms, just drinking, collecting as well. So on the whole, wine is a growing market, and I would say that it's a good time to go in as well, because there are more disposable income, they are willing to spend, and it's a large population, 100 million people. So as a whole, is good. Again, for US wines going in there, right, we have the aura of the halo effect of US. The other thing is just that you need to be interesting, because otherwise they'll look, they'll go for the safe choice, Europe, or a cheap choice, Australia kind of thing, good quality wine from there. So you have to be very interesting to pop up. Yeah.
Okay, there's another one. Thank you so much for the presentation. Can you please share the spice level? Are the consumers open to spicy sauces and foods?
Yes. So in terms of spice level, right, I don't think they're the level of Thailand, the kind of spiciness, but they're definitely way above. Philippines. So they do eat spicy food. So if you have like pho, right, you can actually, I think people do actually sauce everything into it. So if you're talking the level, yes, they do. Don't forget they're also very close to like Thailand as well. So a lot of Thai cooking comes into play too. So yeah, so they would be open to spice. I cannot remember, but I haven't really seen like mala going into that market yet. But I don't see that many of mala kind of stores. So that kind of spices, maybe not yet. Yeah. I wanted to bring up 2 points. I think earlier on about tariffs. So recently, right, I think on the end of March, just before the tariffs started, Vietnam actually dropped their tariffs for the MFN, most favored nation. And I think that affected some of the people on the call here, like Dean and also Jamie. So raisins, right, from 12% dropped to 5%. So other fresh fruits, some nuts as well are involved too. So some of them went very low. So on average, about 5% for the import, and it may go lower as well. So just FYI, in the past, some products any products that's in for processing to be exported, right, has very low or zero tariffs. So those that are for consumption in country itself, right, as retail product, typically has some maybe 10%, but now it's dropped to 5%. So do check if your importers, especially like prunes, raisins, all this, you can actually, you have a better deal now, you got more margins. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Do we